Well, good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations on navigating our first snow of the year, and you're welcome. Not only are you welcome here, but you're welcome because I tried to shovel the snow for you. So we're delighted that we have opportunity to gather for some stolen moments, and we're glad to welcome Jake Wilkinson on the trumpet. And we have Matt Newton on piano, and Andrew Scott on drums, and Jim Sandilands on bass. And it's good for us to remember that we are gathered here on the traditional territory of several indigenous peoples, and that we do recall that in order that we might also remember to learn about our colonial history and to promote our authenticity and our dedication to living as treaty partners dedicated to truth and reconciliation. Let's take some stolen moments.
Let's go right into it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Good evening to you all. Ain't it great to have Andrew Scott here? Yeah. I was mocking Tim last time we were together because he said he wasn't going to be here tonight because he's in Saskatoon. Well, I guess the laugh's on us this time. But what a grace to have Andrew here. Yeah. This is a prayer for evening from one of my favorite collections of prayers by Tess Ward. Praise to you, Creator of all, for the beauty of your handiwork in russet crimson ochres given, and for the gift of my body in the autumn bronze, for the divine flow from the earth, which feeds bones and flesh and skin, until in good time our bodies return. Amen. Susan and I went to church this morning at the Church of the Nativity, down the road a fair ways. And you should check out CHCH. They've done a little blurb about the fact that they have done a great river of poppies from the doorway of the church down and around the peace pole. And the russet crimson made me think of that today because some of that was covered in snow in the russet crimson. We sat next to Susan Lynn, who had a large part. I forget how many hours it took to put hundreds and hundreds of poppies together. And she said, we asked the Legion when we should take it down. And they said by 11:15 on Remembrance Day. I said, well, you should never ask the Legion things like that. Because they're going to have to find a place to put this so it can dry out now in the midst. But if you get a chance to drive by or look on CH, have a look at that wonderful flow of poppies. This next tune is Come Sunday. It's a tune that Duke wrote in Thanksgiving for the fact that church allowed his band to come and play after some of their late gigs. And well, it's just a beautiful ballad. And Mr. Jake is going to take us through it.
Sure.
Thank you, Jake and Matt. This is Tess Ward, night shielding. I don't know how you feel about things that come in the night, but Tess starts with a word for God that I find compelling. Outrageous one, who comes in the night, ready or not, who surprises with your arrival in the darkest of moonless places. For you did not wait till we were ready. You did not wait till every child was loved and every mouth fed, till our lives were spotless and the fighting had ceased. You came just as we are. Come to us this night, dear God, and to all who need your peace. Watch and wait with us in the darkness until the light of justice dawns. Bring us safely to tomorrow as we lie down this night. Next up is Nature Boy, which many Christians have decided to mistakenly think it's about Jesus, but never mind that. It's still a wonderful tune. right?
Yeah, I got it. I got the message. I got it.
What was it?
Solar.
Solar.
Why do we say solar?
Solar.
It's funny how that happened. Like who said that?
Who decided that? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, now I'm confused.
Are we doing solar?
Yeah. I just don't know how to say it anymore.
I never did. I will leave this place not knowing those things.
Well, that happens a lot.
It's a beautiful thing. That's
How does this go? Yeah, how fast are we going?
how's that? You want to take it around one time, maybe? Just now, with you, like everybody, and I'll come in. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was Solar, also known as Who Gets to Play the Last Note, another wonderful jazz tradition.
I didn't plan note at the end, I don't know what
What
that was.
what was that?
I don't know.
So,
Lar.
I live in a house where just about every sentence starts with the word so. Did you know that? So. Yeah. I'm going to, what are we doing? I'm going to pray a bit and then morph into a homily, and then we're going to do stolen moments if I can find it. Because we're not doing so what. We're not doing so what because the bass player didn't want to practice enough to make the bass part work. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So what? We're doing this. By way of prayers for artists, healing, and justice, it's that time when I put on my Legion Padre hat and do Remembrance Day services, which it's turning out might look a little like today did, so I'll be putting on my Padre hat for sure. I have been doing those prayers for a great length of time, and for most of that time I've struggled with what to say. When I started being Legion Padre, I lived under the shadow of people, especially clergy, who would claim that Remembrance Day services glorified war. And it wasn't long before I started hanging out at the Legion, and I realized that I had yet to meet a veteran who would find that time a glorification of war. And lately, neither did I. But this Remembrance Day, I was given a gift by my daughter. My daughter, Leah, teaches at a private school in Newmarket, and it was her job to write something for Remembrance Day, which she did. She started with her early childhood experiences of church. They had to be her early childhood experiences of church because her later childhood experiences of church were non-existent. But she remembered as a child the moment in church when we exchanged the peace. And as a very young child, that stayed with her for a couple of reasons she cited. One of which was it was an opportunity to get up out of the hard pew and move around a bit, because people would stand and exchange the peace. For a while, she thought that people were talking about peas, as in peas and beans, peas. But never mind, that was okay, we got to exchange peace. The moment, peace be with you, stayed with her. Fast forward to her journey into a love of the outdoors and outdoor education, and she found herself lately being part of another private school. I guess I can say it was Appleby. And she was part of the outdoor education program there, and they would take young people out into the woods, Temagami, I think she said, and they'd set up a hub camp, and then they'd send the individuals off into the woods so that they could do an overnight solo camp. They were close enough that they could be found, but they were on their own in the woods. They came back, had a campfire, and they shared that experience with each other. Most of them said some version of, I was scared, but I got over it, and I feel proud that I managed to make it through it. One of the campers was a young man from Uganda who had been, she told this story with his permission, so I'm assuming I can too. At the age of 9, he was kidnapped and recruited into the army, of the Child's Army in Uganda, from which he eventually escaped and went into the woods to escape. His experience of the solo camping in the woods in Canada was how wonderful it felt to feel safe in the woods. It caused Leah and me to reflect on how privileged one can be to live in a world where one can stand up in church and say, "Peace be with you," and live without fear. And she then finished her little, now see, I would have called this a sermon. She might never forgive me if I did that. But she finished her homily by asking the people who were listening to stand and exchange the peace with each other. Would you do that? Would you stand? And recognize that you're in a safe place and greet one another with the peace. Peace be with you. Peace, Matt. Peace, Andrew. Peace, Jake. Thank you for doing that. I love the post-COVID versions of peacemaking that now exist in some churches where people are doing this and this and being fearful of getting too close to one another. But nevertheless, we are safe, and for that we are blessed. Peace be with you. Okay, let's do stolen moments, because it seems to me that fits with all of that. Okay.
Right? Yeah, right? It's a one tempo thing, isn't it? In the intro, right? Yeah, with the intro. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
That is a hard song.
Just know it breathes.
And nobody stole the moment. Except possibly you, Jake. That was cool. Thanks. All right. You're probably anxious to get out there on the roads. Well, I guess you could, well, you still got to get on the road. You come sleep at our place tonight, but it's a drive too. You gonna be all right getting home? Okay, I wrote down My Romance, and then as I was going through my huge pile of music to see if I could find My Romance, I found I Remember You. And now I can't find it here. I Remember You. I got it. Thank you. I remember you. Do you remember the words to that song?
Yep.
I don't.
I remember you. You're the
I
one
remember
that made my dreams come
come
true.
true.
A few
Didn't you
kisses
know?
ago. Not yet.
I remember two distant bells
Yep.
and stars that fell like rain out of the dew. When my life is through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of it all, I will tell them, yeah, I remember you. That's right.
That puts a different spin on it when you say it.
I remember you. Okay. Are we going to do this like a swing then?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. We're going to do I Remember You, and then we're going to do St. Thomas, because having heard Andrew play the drums, I can't wait till Tim gets back and I can tell him what Andrew did on St. Thomas.
It was a disaster.
Sorry, wait. I have to do a blessing.
Oh, shoot.
When I was driving down the mountain in the snow today, I did not think this would be this much fun. But I'm very grateful for you coming out tonight and for these guys for making it the thing that it is. Jake Wilkinson on trumpet. Mr. Matt Newton. First time I met Andrew Scott, formerly of Paloma Sky, now part of the Jazz Vespers crew. Andrew Scott. And I'm the usual suspect on bass, and I remember you.
Sorry. You want to bring it in with the, whatever you want?
Straight in?
Just bring it in with the
Oh,
sound.
sure.
You feel blessed? Yes, very. All right then, I'm done. We're going to do St. Thomas, which is Sonny Rollins' version of a lullaby. That's right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. You get to start.
Sure.
Thank you.
Safe home, everybody.
You think of this
How
place,
many
don't
of
you?
you can fit in a Kia Soul one of these?
You're welcome to go home, but you're also welcome to stay for a little while. There are some refreshments, and we thank Jody and Aidan for setting that up, and we thank Malcolm for closeting himself back over there and making it possible for those who didn't brave the snow to also take part in these stolen moments. Once again, thanks to Jake, Matt, Andrew, and Jim.